Can we start with the salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Goodness, you've had no dinner? I'll start again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Okay, so journaling the Qur'an, you know that. We've done introduction, color directory, all that. I promised to do this again once at one point. This is what I think you should know, and all of you know it when you open the Quran. Walzam hifdha kitabika, walzam qalbi hifdha kitabika kama allamtani. Okay, I'm going to start again. Fatiha. Summary of the Quran. Baqarah, history of faith. Ali Imran, identity. Nisa, manifestation of the identity means respect of women. Okay, Ma'idah. Oh, come on. Perfection of? You've got to say it so fast, like it's coming out of your ears. Oh, Yasin kitna pare chabre. We know every single word of it. Okay, next one. An'am. 6. They made up their own rules or practical tawheed. Okay, 7. A'raf. Pardon? Rejecting divine guidance. Okay, 8. Anfal. Characteristics of believers. Tawbah. Hypocrisy. Exposed. Okay. Yunus. It's never to. Oh, thank God for that. Hud. Pardon? Lessons from the past. Prophets. Okay. 12. Trust in divinity. 13. If you don't change yourself, it's not going to work. Okay. Ibrahim. Du'as of Ibrahim. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Hijr. 15, by the way. The Prophet and Quran do not need what? Outside validation. Okay, 16, Nahl. Life has a purpose. 17, Isra. 10 commandments. Well done. Kahf, the 5 divine tests. Okay, see, you know them. Maryam, again, it's tawakkul. Okay, just like Yusuf. Okay, so we talked about Maryam and Prophet Isa, obviously. Okay, now we get a bit slow. Taha, about Musa, you know that. Moment you see Taha, Musa. And remember the toy, it is like the snake of Prophet Musa. Okay, don't forget. Anything that starts with Ta will be like that. Anbiya, we did that, by the way. Accountability, right? What else? Oh, you're reading from there. Didn't realize that. Okay. Thank you. Okay, today we're going to do Hajj. We started Hajj last week. I'm going to go over it today. So Hajj, in essence, talks about 3 kinds of people. It talks about those who believe, it talks about those who don't believe, and those who are on the edge. We'll talk about them in a minute, okay? Hajj, also you find in Sura Al Hajj, Allah gives us the formula of success on Qiyamah and accountability. And I'd like to tell you one thing. We will talk about Sura Al Mu'minun, hopefully, if we get some time, because that's the next surah that we'll be doing Yasin, but I need to link these 2 together. Now, all of you know Surah Al-Mu'mineen because you say, Qad aflahal mu'minun. A farmer is a fallah. And we'll see this at the end of the surah when we come to it. A farmer is a fallah. The fallah is actually that pitchfork. You know that fork that he uses to dig up the earth? Now, he digs the earth up 2 times. One when he plants the seed and one when he harvests, right? That's why it's called fallah. The difference between normal people and those in the agricultural society is that those who are farmers only get money once a year. That's why in all communities, whether you belong to the east or the west or the north or the south, there is a harvest festival. Is there not one in your school, right? Harvest festival. Because that is the time a farmer gets his money. So when we talk about Surah Al Hajj, also remember, and you'll see it coming again and again and again, that if you believe, then your paycheck is on the day of Qiyamah. Everything else is striving towards that, just like a farmer. That's why it says, Qad aflahal mu'min. Okay, keep that in mind. This is your success on the day of Qiyamah. Okay, just keep that in mind. We'll go to Mu'minun later. We did ayah 1, but I'll go over it again. Now, know this, that Hajj starts with Ya Ayyuhan Nas and ends with Ya Ayyuhal Ladhina Amanu. While Mu'minun is the other way around. It starts with Ya Ayyuhal Ladhina Amanu and ends with Ya Ayyuhan Nas. Surah Al Hajj is quite unique It was revealed in the day and the night. It was revealed at war and peace. It was revealed in Makkah and Medina. That is why you will find scholars dispute whether it's Makki or Madani. But generally you will find it to be Madani. But this is what our scholars say. You'll find lots of disputes over there. So it's a unique surah. It's got all these different bits in it. Now it starts off with Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, O human beings, ittaqu, be God conscious. Inna zalzalati sa'ata shay'un azim. The shaking of that day will be endless. Now, you and I all know that if we want to empty something, we shake it. If you have a paper bag, you do that. Even a tablecloth, you got crumbs on it, you shake it outside before you put it in the washer. In the same way, on the day of judgment, you and I will be shaken. So everything it's a metaphoric thing. Everything inside us will be out. Nothing can be hidden. Right now, nobody knows what's inside here. Everybody looks at this exterior and thinks, okay, have a look inside. So it's the same thing. It's saying that day, everything will be shaken so much. It'll be endless shaking. And if you look at your Qur'an, that whole first 4 ayat is about this endless earthquake. Zalzala is like continually falling, continually shaking. So just imagine for a minute, accountability is continually shaking, right? I was looking at some YouTube thing, and it said, even when you have a tube of makeup, for example, I don't use makeup, but if you do, or toothpaste, you want to get the last bit out, you cut the back bit off. Oh, you learned something. Okay. So you learn something and you don't waste. In the same way, the back of you and me will be cut off and everything will come out. Okay, right. There was no ultrasound 1400 odd years ago. We talked about this last week. And you find that ayah, which is ayah number 5, and that you've got the whole ayah there, it talks about the baby. Everything you and I know now, from dust and then a seed and then a clot and then a lump of flesh, so on and so forth, comes in this ayah. And I talked about it last week, and it also means that when the human being is put in the ground, he doesn't die. He's not covered in darkness. He or she is planted. And what he or she leaves behind grows. So, change the thought process. When somebody is put into the ground, they're not dead. They actually grow. And you will find, which is really sad, people, when you die, they find all these things about you. Obituaries are written. Have you seen them? When they're alive, you look at them and you think, yeah, okay, ordinary. I had a friend who died a few months ago. It is only then that I found out that she had delivered 1,500 babies. And I saw her every day. Whenever I saw her, yeah, salam, alaikum salam, how are you? And I used to think, okay. But when I found out, I thought maybe they should have been done. Anyway, so these people are planted. I don't know whether you know, but in Japan, on every gravestone, there's a QR code. So you put your phone on that QR code and it tells you the life history of the person who's buried there. You don't want that? It's a good thing to do. Maybe we'll start doing it one day. So here they're planted. You can see that, right? And we talked about it last week. Okay, now we're going to look at 22:11. Please turn to that. And I think you've got a sticker there with a thing. Now, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, from people, are those مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ. Harf is the edge of a cliff. It's shaky. It's like a tightrope. It's not easy. So there are people who sort of stick on the edge of a cliff. فَإِنْ أَصَابَهُ خَيْرًا, if good happens to them, it's مَعَنَّ بِهِ. They are so happy with being Muslims. They're so happy with believing. Whatever you say, it's good for them. But وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةً, if there is the slightest of a test, in qalaba ala wajhihi khasir ad-dunya wal akhirah, they turn back, they don't want to know. Dhalika huwa al-khusran al-mubin. This is the greatest of losses. So give them a test, give them something difficult, and they stop believing in God. They stop believing in what they're believing. So these are people who are on the edge. Good is fine with them, but bad they cannot handle. Okay. So any test and such they cannot handle, right? Okay. and you'll see the difference. There's another example, 22:15. It's a beautiful example. It's just amazing. So he says, and by the way, so many people have written about this. I'm going to try and put it all together and take one. And then you've got people opposing the Qur'an because of this ayah. Okay, so this says, مَنْ كَانَ يَظُنُّ أَنَّ يَنْصُرَ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا. Whoever thinks that Allah will not help him in his life. Now imagine a person who's doing everything right. Following the Qur'an, going to the mosque, praying, fasting, everything they're doing. Even doing whatever they have to do with people. They're being nice, extra nice with their family, their sasus in particular. Sorry, I had to put that in. All that they're doing, right? They're doing that whole lot. فَلْيَمْدُدْ بِسَبَبٍ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. And sabab is the rope that a person uses to climb a palm tree. So you imagine this person, right? Climbing up thinking, I'm doing everything right, everything's good. But thinking, nothing's happening. Nobody's giving me anything. Now imagine that farmer, he's planted something. Mid-year, he thinks, nothing's growing. So he says, sell the farm for peanuts. Nothing's happening. In the same way, this person is doing everything right, but nothing miraculous is happening. Nobody's saying, oh wow, this midwife who delivered 1,500 babies, nobody recognized it. Looked at her and just passed by her. So, in other words, Allah says He cuts it off. So what happens when you cut it off? You're so angry, nothing good is happening. You fall on your back. Nobody else falls. You fell. So you thought, I'm not doing this anymore. Khalas, I don't want to be good anymore. Because if I'm being good, nothing good is happening. Nothing is happening. Can you understand what Allah is trying to say here? Right? He's trying to give an example of saying, it's just like a rope. And he says, you're thinking that Allah is not helping you. You think divinity is not seeing anything. That's your problem. He sees absolutely everything. When I moved here some, 30 years ago from Chelmsford, I didn't have anywhere to stay during the day. So I used to drop the children to school, and then because one of them went to the nursery in the annex, I used to park in the car park and stay there. None of you were there to take me into your homes, okay? I didn't know you, so don't worry. I stayed in the car park. Salam. And there wasn't her to hug me either. You were too small. You weren't even born then. You were playing football with the angels. So I used to park in the car park, and I used to see this old man. And he used to walk around the car park. I've said this before. He used to pick up all the rubbish. He used to pick up all the any garbage, anything that was there. He used to pick all those. He used to come every morning, pick it up and put it away. And then I told his son, I said, there's this old man. He just comes and picks up rubbish. He says, that's my father. Do you know who my father is? And he was telling me about his father and the stuff he owned in Baba Dharamsi, by the way. Who owned this stuff in Dar es Salaam and who gave it away. This is, if he thought that nobody's looking at me, nobody's honoring me, nobody's giving me an award, he wouldn't do that day in, day out, come summer, come winter, come whatever, right? We walk in that car park, we didn't pick up what we see. He used to actually come just to pick the rubbish up. So this is basically what he's saying. Don't worry, he's watching. Whatever you're doing, he knows. That little bit of ironing, he's watching it. Okay, now Hajj, 26. Sorry, I got a bit carried away with Baba. Right, 26. وَإِذْ بَوَّأْنَا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ. Let's talk about this a little bit, okay? Bawa is to move somewhere after you've done your due diligence. You don't move just like that. We check out the neighbors, we make sure somebody checks out the house, structural survey, all the rest of it. In the same way, it says, when Ibrahim did due diligence, and then Makan al-Bayt, the place of the house, and la tushrak bihi shay'an, we told him, don't associate anything with me. وَطَحِّرْ بَيْتِيَ, purify my house. For who? لِلطَّائِفِينَ وَالْقَائِمِينَ وَالرُّكَّعِ sujud. 4 things. One is tawaf. One is to stand in salah. One is to do ruku, and one is to do sujud. In essence, the last 3 are talking about salah. So we're talking about Hajj here, and he's being told that this house is only for tawaf and for salah. Are you good? Okay. Next one. وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ. Do adhan, call on human beings. It didn't say call on those who believe. Call on all human beings to do hajj, bil hajj. Ya'atuka, you will find them. Rijalan, rijl is actually a foot. They will come on foot. Rijal is feet, not man. They will come on foot. Ala kulli dhamirin, they will come on every dhamir. There's a lot of words for camel. This is a thin camel. Because by the time that fat camel travels all the way to Hajj, it's become thin. If you and I were to walk to Hajj, be the same thing. Good workout. I don't know how many of you look at your watch for steps. Do you do that? Yeah, well, this will be definitely more than 10,000 steps. Okay? So, kulli dhamirin ya'tina min kulli fajjin amik. They will come from every remote path. I don't know whether you've been for Hajj and Umrah. If you haven't, inshallah, we will all go. But you always meet people you don't even know where they come from. It's amazing human beings who you meet, right? They come from different planets. Okay. And he says, why should they come? لِيَشْهَدَ مَنَافِيَ لَهُمْ, so that they may find benefits, spiritual, economic, networking, all sorts of benefits. When you see somebody else, God, it makes such a difference in life. You think, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, right? Okay. وَيَذْكُرُ اسْمُ اللَّهِ, and you're all thinking of Allah. فِي أَيَّامِ مَعْلُومَاتٍ, in the days which are known. عَلَى مَا رَزَقَهُم مِّن بَهِيمَةِ الْأَنْعَامِ. And then He's also given you the concept of being able to sacrifice an animal. فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا, you can eat of it. وَأَطْعِمُوا الْبَائِسَ الْفَقِيرَ, and feed it to one who needs. Now, I'm not sure about you, but the first time I went for Hajj, I thought this was, we were only worried about whether things were comfortable or not. And we didn't go for the qurbani. We just let somebody else to give niyaba, right? And they walked across and they came back and we thought, thank God for that, we can have a shower now. This is different. It's talking about go and see what happens. What happened to your meat? Did you ever find out? Where was it transported? Or did you just leave it there? Okay, these are just questions for you and I to think. It's not a holiday. It's a day of actually wondering what you want to do. Okay. Thumma, when you finish that, then thumma liyaqdu tafathahum. Then start, becoming clean. وَلْيَعْفُوا نُذُورَهُم, and make sure you keep your promises of what you're going to do. وَلْيَطَّوَّفُوا بِالْبَيْتِ الْعَتِيقِ, and obviously after you finish, you do the tawaf as well. Okay, I'm not going into the recommendations of Hajj, you all know them. Now this says, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ حُرُمَاتِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِ. If you respect, if you make a big deal out of that which Allah has made sacred, hurum, haram means something that is sacred, that you keep away from haram, but hurumat is something that is sacred, it is better for you. Now we always get accused that we want to go to a grave, go to a zari, and even looking at we have alams, don't we? You don't worship them. But you get told, hey, what are you doing with that? We've done this before. Or we talked about the shirt that Prophet Yusuf wore. I haven't talked about Yusuf yet. But you remember the shirt that Ibrahim was given by Jibreel? Remember that? That saved him from the fire. That shirt was passed to Ishaq. That was given to Yaqub, and Yaqub gave it to Yusuf. One tear fell on that shirt. And then that shirt was put on top of Yaqub. What happened? His eyesight came back. Ask any alim. You must have heard countless stories of how people who couldn't see would take the earth from between the feet, from under the feet of those who went in julus, and put them on their eyes. Ask a ophthalmologist and they'll tell you, don't put earth on your eyes. But they did. And they could see. I'm not encouraging you to do that. There's one sitting there. I'm not encouraging you to do that. All I'm trying to tell you is that even putting your eyes to something like that will increase your basarat. Yeah? People always have problems with all different things. When you cry for Hussein, your handkerchief, put it at the place it hurts. If you don't have any place you hurt, I can show you a whole lot of chairs at the back where people's knees hurts or back hurts or whatever. Give it to them. See the difference it makes. Okay, so this is saying you have to make a big deal of it. Okay. وَأُحِلَّتْ لَكُمُ الْأَنْعَامُ, we have made it halal for you, the cattle, إِلَّا مَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْكُمْ, except that you know that you don't have to take. And this فَاجْتَنِبُوا الرِّجْسَ, avoid that which is unclean, مِنَ الْأَوْثَانِ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الْقَوْلَ الزُّورِ, and avoid telling lies. Avoid telling things that are not right. Okay? Right. وَنَفَعَ لِلَّهِ غَيْرَ مُشْرِكِينَ بِهِ, be upright, don't associate anything with me. Now this is another example. What does he say? وَمَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ, those who, this is another example. يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَكَأَنَّمَا خَرَّ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, it's as though they fell from a height. فَتَخْطَفُهُ الطَّيْرُ, and then birds picked them away. أَوْ تَحْوِي بِهِ الرِّيحُ فِي مَكَانٍ سَحِيقٍ, and the birds carried them to a distant place. This is a metaphor that is quite difficult to understand unless you know, in English, if I told you it was raining cats and dogs this morning, do you actually look up at the sky and think of cats and dogs falling down? You don't. You know it's heavy rain. Now for the Arabs, the worst death, because they didn't believe in accountability at that time, until the Prophet came, their worst death was the death of a coward. So now it talks about, imagine in your head a mountain and a valley. Imagine that the army that has an upper hand is on top of the mountain, and the army that is losing out is at the bottom of the mountain. If the army who had an upper hand still loses, the Arabs used to throw them off the mountain and leave their bodies for the birds to carry away. Do you understand where this ayah comes from? So it is Arab mentality. Their worst death was the death of a coward. They wouldn't even bury them. So now here Allah is saying, غَيْرَ مُشْرِكِينَ بِي وَمَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. If you associate anybody with Allah, it's as though you are facing the death of a coward. Don't associate anything with him. Put him uppermost. We'll talk about shirk later on as we come to the other surahs. It explains it better. Again, dhalik. You know what dhalika means? Have you watched Bugs Bunny? If you haven't, you got a problem. Bugs Bunny, when he hears something, his ears stand up. Dhalik is like, did you hear me? Did your ears stand up? Well, I know your ears don't, but can you imagine that? Okay, so that's dhalik. وَمَنْ يَعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. It's the same thing. If you respect the signs of Allah, then you definitely are God conscious. You know, children come here for workshop on a Saturday, and I'm sure they come in at other times. And when they run around, you just have to tell them, this is a center. This is a Husseiniya. A little bit of respect. We have mothers here in Ramadan. I have 5, so you can't tell me I don't know about it, and I have 9 grandchildren. So don't tell me I don't know. But when they sit for the classes, all I tell them is please clean the square meter around you, because they open crisps. And look, I know children need to be occupied. Crisps, biscuits, it's all around them. And then they get up and they go into their Range Rovers. I'm sorry. They need to clean that square meter around. That is وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرِ Allah. That's what it's talking about. You respect where you are. This is the farsh of Hussein. It's not up to the volunteers to do it. It's those little things that make a difference, right? So وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. It's about waiting when somebody's putting their shoes on and saying, it's okay, you go first because you're older or you've got children. You don't have to be a line at customs and immigration to let old people and young people go. You got to be at the mosque. Amari jagache. We sit in the front. Are you serious? Your amals are not accepted if you push somebody else and came to sit. It's not your place. And these are things that we need to understand. That's what this is about. It's not about the big things. It's the small things that matter. Okay. Now he says, who are they? Who are these people who have taqwa al-qulub? Okay, there we go. Alladhina idha dhukira Allah. When Allah is even mentioned, even the slightest of 4 things happen immediately. The moment they think of divinity, 1, wajilat qulubuhum, their hearts tremble. They're like in awe. You know, oh my goodness, it's a place of Allah. Have you ever seen the Kaaba? Yes. If you haven't, inshallah, one day. You look at it and you sort of, Oh my goodness. And they tell you, your first dua when you see the Kaaba is accepted. And you know what happens? You see that woman walking into the masjid and you say, please let her walk. You forget about everything about yourself. And that's one thing. That's wajilat qulubuhum. Then he says, وَالصَّابِرِينَ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَهُم. They have self-control when they have tests. When something afflicts them, sabr is nothing else but self-control. It's being able to control myself, my words, my things, everything I say. وَالْمُقِيمِ الصَّلَاةِ. They don't, it's praying salah. They establish salah in their life. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Whatever little they have, they share. When you say they spend in the way of Allah, it means they share. Whatever little they have. Whatever they have, they share. Whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's whatever you want. Okay? Now, we come to my favorite bit. You got this on your WhatsApp. We can send it again to you if you want, but you've got this. Now, this was an amal which uses the 8 ayat of Sura Al Hajj. And you've got doors there. I think she's given you 8 doors, right? So 58 to 65 are the 8 doors of Jannah. We will send you the stuffs that you need, by the way, okay? It's an awesome dua. It starts with Ya Allah 15 times. And then you will see all these Asma al-Husna will come in these ayat. And you know there are 8 doors of Jannah, right? So we will also send you a link of the book which tells you what is inscripted on the 8 doors of Jannah and the 7 doors of Jahannam. It's pretty simple. We'll send it across to you. Okay. So, وَالَّذِينَ هَاجَرُوا. You know, I don't want to look at the whole thing. All I want to look is the last thing. وَلَهُوَ خَيْرُ الرَّازِقِينَ. Now, if you look at rizq as such, and we will send you one of these as well. I think we gave them to you. We will send it on the group. If you don't have them, I'm sure Fatim will sort it out and give it to you. So it says number 17. Everybody knows rizq. He is the razik, right? Rizq means physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Ya Razzaq is phenomenal for anything like that. To personalize the rizq, and I talked about it at some point, I don't know whether here or at another class, is muqit. Muqit comes from qut, one who personalizes your rizq to you. I did say in one of the classes that at my age, when I look at chips, I think, oh, really? Seriously? Talk to me 20 years ago, I loved them. So your personalization means at a particular age or a particular stage of your life, there are things that you will eat and there are things that you will not eat. And I've got a volunteer sitting over there and still gives you some bosas, right? Sad. Anyway, so khairur razikin. If you look at the first door of Jannah, it gives 4 things that gives you rizq. One is contentment. Second is honoring the right of others. Third is abstaining from feelings of hatred. Sura Al Hajj, ayah 10. Ya Allah, help me not have any hatred for anyone. And fourth, sitting with Ahlul Khair. And you'll see when we come to Surah Al-Mu'minun, inshallah, that these people who are Mu'minun do not sit with any sort of conversation that has no value. All right, the words here are وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَعَلِيمٌ Halim. He is Alim and he is Halim. He is all knowing and he is like Khichri. You know what Halim is? It's like he's so soft. He puts up with everything. And therefore, to live that, I've got to be like that. And this is what it says. You want to enter Jannah? Your affection towards orphans. Show compassion to those who are widowed. Strive to meet the needs of mu'mineen and inquire about and visit the poor and the needy. Okay. Here the words are Afuun Ghafoor. Everyone wants to be forgiven. That's the first thing we ask for. So he says, if you want to do that, talk less, sleep less, eat less. You didn't know kojas existed, okay? Eat less and desire less. Expectation. Desires means less expectations from people, right? We will send you all this, by the way. We'll send you a link of the book so you don't have to worry about it. What are the words here? Sami'un Basir. So if you look at my Qur'an, I've actually highlighted just the words. You can then look at the whole sentence. Sami'ul Basir, hearing and seeing. Okay. So we'll see. If you want to be able to have perception in this world, then honor your guests, honor your neighbors, honor your parents, and speak the best or remain Silent. If you can't say anything, the companions of the Prophet used to put pebbles in their mouth. Before they spoke, they had to take the pebbles out, which meant they had time to think. Otherwise, they would just go on. Right, fifth door, Aliyul Kabir. You all know Ali, the Most High, and 36, is Yasin, which is heart of the Qur'an, and Ali lives in your heart. You can't forget that, okay? Kabir, the great. And you'll see, if you want to do that, don't act unjustly, don't abuse, don't belittle others, which makes sense. It'll make you bigger, and always say, La ilaha illallah. When people ask for amals, if you don't know anything, you know La ilaha illallah. Say it many times as possible. Right here, Latifun Khabir. Latif is subtle. The moment you think of Latif, think of the pearl that came out of the oyster when it was just a grain of sand. That's Latif, okay? Khabir is aware of everything. And on this door, you want to be able to see pearls come out instead of that grain of sand. You want to be all-knowing, or you want to know, Khabir, you want to be aware of life. Either build a masjid, visit a masjid, clean a masjid. That's what I talked about. Or make sure you cover the floor of a masjid. Okay. Right. And there's so many masjids in the world that don't have coverings, by the way. Here you have Ghaniyul Hamid. You want to be rich? This is what you have to do. Visit the sick, escort a janazah, acquire a coffin, and repay debts. It's all about giving. Okay? Next one. You will see he talks about ships and the seas, but here, Ra'ufur Rahim. And we've talked about this, Ra'uf Rahim. So Imam Bakr used to say, when you're in problems, Ya Ra'uf, Ya Rahim. Rahman, Rahim, and Ra'uf. Rahman is number 1. Rahim is number 2, and Ra'uf is number 83. Rahman, dentist. Rahim, hygienist. Yeah, I got one sitting there. And Ra'uf is the anesthetist. Nothing hurts. Everything taken away. Okay? So if you want Ra'uf and Rahim, be generous. Have the best of akhlaq. Give sadaqah. And if somebody is directing hurt to anybody, stop it before the hurt gets there. Okay, don't relate it. Are you good? Okay, now my favorite 6 ayat. So that's the last 6 ayat of this surah. If you look at them, we'll start with 73. These are absolutely awesome ayat. Because, Ya ayyuhan nas, oh people. Duriba. Duriba means to strike. That means get to them. Make sure they understand this example. In other words, you remember that Bugs Bunny again with his ears up. Listen carefully, because he says, فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. Listen. Don't just hear. Listen. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. If you rely or you call upon other than Allah, لَن يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا. They cannot even create a fly. Even if they all get together, that pesky fly that you see, they can't even create it. And if a fly took anything away from them, they could have the best stuff in the world. They would not be able to take it back. You know, a fly, if you look up Google, you'll see they have this acidic saliva that the moment it touches the food, it changes its properties. So even if you've tried, you can't retrieve it. So he says that ضَعُفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. So those you called upon are weak, and you yourself are weak because you use something else instead of Allah. First port must be Allah, right? Even if you say, Ya Allah, that's fine, that's great. Okay. He said, مَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. The problem is, they don't understand who Allah is. And in Hadith Qudsi, he says, I am who you make me out to be. If you make me out to be Hakir, that is what I am to you. It is entirely up to you how you and I see Allah. And that is why the study of the Asma al-Husna. Allahu yastafi. Yastafi means choosing without any prior knowledge, or if I can say, without anybody coercing them. This is, He has chosen Himself. Divinity has chosen the Malaika as His messengers, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, and the messengers from people, إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. So when He chooses a prophet, why him? There was no question like that. He chose. Right? يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ, and you know this ayah, right? يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُرْجَعُ الْأُمُورِ. He knows what is before you and what is behind you. Ayatul Kursi. One day we will do the whole thing of Ayatul Kursi. We've already done it, but I'll go over it again because I haven't got too much time today. Now I told you, it started with Ya Ayyuhan Nas. Look what it ends with. Ya Ayyuhal Ladhina Amanu. Now it tells me, and it's giving me some good reasons to do what it says. So it says, Ya Ayyuhal Ladhina, oh you who believe. Remember this ayah? Ma qadarullaha hakka qadrihi. So how do I understand who he is? He says, do these things. Irqaw, do ruku. Wasjudu, do sijda. Wa'budu rabbukum, attach yourself to your Rabb. Be his slave. And that's not enough. Waf'alul khair, do good. Manifest your belief in doing good. La'allakum tuflihun, so that you may be a falah, like that farmer. You remember him, right? And therefore, this is what I've done to my Qur'an in Sura Al Mu'minun, which is the next surah. I'm not going to see you next week. So if you look at it, and I'll try and put it together on the WhatsApp group, it's actually a ring. Can you see the 2 greens and the 2 blues and the 2 reds and the 2 purples and the brown? I'll try and make it into an image so you can see it and you can see how they're related. Remember how the Ayatul Kursi was done? Do you remember how they match together? It's exactly the same thing. It's a ring and it's attached to this ayah. How do we become successful? The Prophet said, there are 10 ayat of the Qur'an. If you follow them, you are definitely Ahlul Jannah. And he recited these 10 ayat. They're not rocket science. Because you will see they revolve around a family, then you've got humanity, then if you look at it, you've got morality, then you've got salah, and then you've got success. It's really amazing. So I'll try and make the rings for you. Okay, last ayah. وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ. Strive in his way as he ought to be strived for. In other words, he doesn't need your striving. Try hard to reach your full potential. Try hard to reach your personal best. Right? He chose you. He did not put any hardship upon you in religion. It is the same thing that he told Ibrahim. هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. He named you those who submitted to him. مِنْ قَبْلُ وَفِي هَذَا يَكُونُ الرَّسُولُ شَهِيدًا عَلَيْكُمْ وَتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ, so that you may be somebody, an example for human beings. What does he want you to do? Establish salah. And the manifestation of salah is to help human beings. When somebody asked the Prophet in one sentence, what is Islam? He said, obedience of the Creator and serving his creation. That's that first line. وَأَتَبْتَسِمُوا بِاللَّهِ هُوَ مَوْلَاكُمْ. And hold on to the rope of Allah. He's the one whom you lean towards. نِعْمَ الْمَوْلَى وَنِعْمَ النَّصِيرُ. The best one to rely on. Nobody else is worth relying on. I told you we will send the stuff across. Sura Al Mu'minun we can't do, but I will do the 10 ayat and send it across to you. Next week is the Wiladat of Sayyidah Fatima. So we will not be having classes next week. I'd like to talk a little bit about Ummul Baneen. So just 2 minutes, because today is her wafat. Okay? So we all know she was the mother of Hazrat Abbas. We all know her name was Fatima. We all know Imam Ali looked for a family in which there was strength of iman and courage as such. That's what he wanted. He wanted 2 things. He wanted iman and courage. Now I know we don't look the same. We run Cupid and we know that. People don't look like that. But parents or family make a very big example. The mother, in fact, is a very strong example of whether she's got courage or whether she's got strength of iman. I'm not going to go into that. That's Ummul Baneen. That's how he found her. She said, don't call me Fatima, because when you call me Fatima, the children cry. So he called her Ummul Baneen. She hadn't had any sons yet. 4 sons, all sacrificed in Karbala. However, she is the person who was an amazing poet who started writing Marthiya and Noha. The first person, the moment you read Marthiya and Noha, think the first person who wrote that was Ummul Baneen. Because she knew that was your children and my children learn through nursery rhymes. And we learn about Karbala through Marthiyas and Nohas. Number 2, like Sayyidah Zainab did the first majlis in Damascus, she did the first majlis in Medina. Phenomenal personality. And if you're stuck anytime, I remember when I used to call my mom and I used to say, Mama, this happened or that happened. She would say, Khobar. She would go outside under the sky. She would take the turba, that means a more or a sajdaga, whatever you call it. And she would say, tasbih kadati, salawati, ne Ummul Baneen ke diyati. and see the difference it makes. So whenever you're stuck, go outside under the sky. It doesn't matter if it's raining. Do 100 times salawat. Gift it to Al-Baneen and see the difference it makes. Okay. So that's something about her. Can we end with the Sura Al Hajj? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. We've got 1 week left before we close for the Christmas holidays. Now, in that week, I was thinking of doing Surah Yasin, but there's no way I'm going to finish. And Yasmin is going to look at me like with those eyes, and I'm scared of them. Okay, so I'm thinking on that last week, on the 18th, we will do Asma al-Husna. Are you good with that? Right? So we'll go through those. Inshallah, you will learn them in the holidays, and we will meet again. Are you good with that? Yeah. So next week there is no class. The week after we will do Asma al-Husna, and then we will start again in January, inshallah. Okay.